I still got it up.
Oh, hello. Welcome to Movies and Mental Health, the show that is going to test the bounds of your psychiatric and psychological expertise and knowledge as it pertains to cinematography, cinematics, and cinephile. Robert is a cinephile. Mr. White is a cinephile. Mr. Jimmy is a cinephile. I am just here for decoration. The black guy. As always, I have my co-host, Mr. Robert Day Fishbeck, aka the Logo.
What's going on, everybody? Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, Mazel Tov, Feliz Navidad, all of the fun stuff.
The whole shebang.
And then we have the Mr. Whitest of Ryan Whites, Ryan White, my very esteemed and good friend, who I'm very happy to be able to share the waves with. It's been a while, sir. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Glad to be here.
Take your fool. And introducing a new colleague with very, very flowing hair. It's very nice, and his beard is excellent, very opulent. Jimmy, I don't know your last name, sir.
Bartlett.
Mr. Jimmy Bartlett. That's a powerful name. That's like Thanos. Jimmy Bart. I like that.
He's got and this camera's not doing him justice.
I think it's Polish.
Oh, is it?
It's either Thanos or Polish.
Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Today we're gonna do something that me and Rob have been trying to set up for about 2 months.
More like 4, but yes.
That's been 4. Yeah. Well, yeah, we did the last one in October. Yeah. So it's been a while. But work got in the way, life got in the way, holidays,
illnesses,
politics. The what?
Illnesses.
We were both sick. My whole family was sick. Rob was sick. Mr. Ryan was still superfluous. And his
I don't
amazing.
know what that means.
Yes, he
Ryan
did.
has the immune system like Chuck Norris. Like he just blinks and it's over with.
When you're never around other people, it's easier not to get sick.
That sounds like a great life, though. I'm not
Pros and
gonna
cons.
lie. Today we're going to talk about Joker 1 or Joker, then 2000 and what year, Rob?
19.
2019, and we're going to talk about Joker 2, Part 2, Folie à Deux. They're going
all the way back in 2024.
Yes, that came
Which
out.
feels like a lifetime ago.
It does. It was almost 6 months ago. It feels like a really long time ago. We'll do the fun and we'll have a little bit of a review. But we're gonna basically really dig into the mental health aspects of both movies, and then I personally want to talk about the bipolar ass nature of the two movies. Rob feels different. I don't know.
We'll definitely talk about that. We just might not.
No. I don't know. You don't feel like it's bipolar,
right?
Mr. White, how do you feel about that, sir?
I feel that the second one is not a bad movie, but it definitely did not reach the same heights for me as the first one did.
Okay. Oh, I see. This is gonna be a divergent opinion. Mr. Jimmy, sir, your thoughts? Did you feel like the first one and second one? I say bipolar because I just felt like they were opposites. I don't know how you felt, though.
I feel that, yes, sort of along those lines. I think I give all the props in the world to Todd Phillips and crew for killing their sacred cow that way. And I understand from the artistic perspective what he was going for. Maybe there was some problems with the execution here and there. They kind of fell flat for me, but I really respect the vision, I guess. I don't know if it was as needed as they did it. I think they went a little hard on it, but
I do. I concur.
I will say they were
sir,
definitely bipolar in box office results.
Oh, that's some Nikki Glaser level shade right there. For those of you that didn't watch the Golden Globes the other night, she made a great joke about Joker.
Oh, was that Nikki Glaser?
She said, "What? I forget what. I don't want to fuck it up. I can't remember what the joke was, but it had to do with their box office numbers."
Oh,
I'm sure it did.
It was hilarious.
Yeah, one of my clients told me that they were roasting the Joker. I was like, the Joker or the movie? And then she said the movie. I was like, oh, okay, I'm all right with that.
Yeah. Her joke, again, I'm gonna fuck it up, but her joke, it was along the lines of like her pointing out to the fact that there wasn't, because she was like, oh, there's the challengers table and there's the blah 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 blah. And she's like, I don't see the Joker 2 table. Well, I'm not the only one that didn't see Joker 2 or something like that.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, she brought the smoke.
Oh,
Okay.
she brought the fucking heat. She brought the heat.
I love it.
But Mr. Carter, you haven't asked me what I thought about Joker 1 and Joker Follow.
Man.
You're a co-host, sir. Speak your truth.
So, look, here's the deal. The first movie, that's in my top 10 of the 2010s decade. That, like, The Social Network's my number 1, but Joker's in there somewhere. That movie is a feat. It is incredible. I know some people don't like it, and that's fine. Some people like other movies that I don't care for. But this sequel, I like this movie more than Quentin Tarantino liked it. And a lot of people were giving Quentin Tarantino shit because he really liked this movie. I love this movie. I gave it a 5 out of 5. As I still haven't seen The Brutalist. I'll be seeing The Brutalist in the next week. But as of right now, it's like my second or third favorite movie of 2024.
Yes. Side note, I was watching, I don't remember which guy does it. He does a lot of horror movies, and he ranked his top 20. Was it top 25 movies of the year? Maybe it was 24. Okay. I don't remember. He might have done it on brand. And Abigail was his number 1 movie, and I was a big fan of Abigail. I liked Abigail a lot.
I wish they would have gone in because it's pretty much Dracula's daughter without one of the subplots, not to spoil a movie that came out like 85 years ago. But I won't. I liked Abigail, but I wish they would have gone more serious with it and a little darker. But it was a fun movie.
I agree. It was fun.
So.
Why, Jake? It's okay. Take deep breaths. So how we usually work it, sirs. Mr. Fishback intros the movies because he is a movie nerd like that. So I let him take away, and then we'll go into it.
So it's pretty simple. 2019's Joker, directed by Todd Phillips. Both of these films were directed by Todd Phillips, who was primarily known as the guy that. What's that?
Were they?
I think they were. These were definitely artistic visions. There was no studio meddling.
Nope, he didn't like
Todd Phillips being the guy who was mostly known as the director of the Hangover films prior to this. The first film won Best Original Score and Best Actor for Joaquin Phoenix, which was awesome.
Yep.
And this film is not going to get shit. It lost money. Joker Folie 2 came out in 2024 in October, and it lost money. It lost hundreds of millions of dollars. So there is that. But that being said, I still think it was a great film. But yeah, there's not much else to say. That's who directed it. That's what they're about. The first movie, by the way, shot on a $65 million budget, made $1.1 billion in the box office.
Jesus.
This movie had a $200-something million budget plus a shitload of marketing. That'll take it up to like the 400 range. And I want to say, Ryan, maybe you can help me out. I want to say it finished at like 300 million.
I have no clue. All I know, thanks to Dan Merle, is it was the biggest second weekend drop of 2024.
What was the biggest?
No, it was the biggest of 2024. I don't know if it was the biggest of all time, but it was on his chart of biggest of all time.
Okay.
At least for a wide release film, that is.
Yeah. I was talking about this with Jimmy when we went and saw the second one, because we saw the first one together, and I still have the picture on my phone. I should have uploaded it, but they had signs on the door, because you got to remember contextually in 2019, yes, we had both Deadpool movies that were R-rated films, but I think those movies people knew what that was going to be, and they had signs printed out on computer paper on all the doors saying, this is not your normal comic book movie, and this is a hard R, and blah, blah, blah. Because, I mean, Deadpool, yeah, they're bloody, and he says fuck a lot. But, like, outside of that, like, they're not dealing with, like, deep themes necessarily.
Nope.
Whereas,
And they had cops. They ran fear-mongering news stories across the country. And police, they had increased police at all the theaters. That they thought there might be another copycat shooter after the Colorado one from Batman, because that was the first time I think a Batman movie or at least a Joker movie had
That
come out
was
since then.
correct.
Was the first Batman movie.
Well,
or-
so it was when The Dark Knight Rises came out in 2012 is when the guy went in there and shot up the theater. Yeah,
yeah,
that was in 2012. So technically the first Batman, well, the first Joker movie since, I mean, you did have the Justice League, but hey, nobody went to go see that, so it doesn't really matter. Go ahead, Ryan.
going to the
So,
theater.
cut-
it's empty.
Couple things there.
Suicide Squad.
So that's what I was going to say.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Suicide
Mr.
Squad
White,
in
carry on.
2016 did have Jared Leto as the Joker. Now, obviously, the film was not around him, but he was there. And then I'm pretty sure Zack Snyder's Justice League that had him in the post credit was either 2020 or 2021. So
Correct.
that would have been after that. But no, I do have a question about what you said earlier. What theater chain did you see the first Joker at where those signs were posted?
AMC.
Okay, because all I have here is Regal, and I definitely don't recall that here. I could have been just the weekend that I went, and that's why I didn't see it, but I do not recall that here.
That might have just been a local, like
I'm gonna
a
pull it
single
up.
theater thing, also.
Mm.
But the police presence that was on the news.
No, that I remember that, but
Yeah.
they had one of the cars outside of the theater.
hmm
Well, like Jimmy was just saying there, I don't live in a big city, and I'm sure that you saw this closer to Chicago, so that could be why too.
It's a suburb.
Yeah, I don't think.
Suburbs.
What did I see? Oh, I didn't see the first Joker in the movies. That's right. I wasn't able to get to it because the way I do movies, I try to do it diplomatic. Everybody in my family has, well, most of the part, the kids and Patty have to want to see it before I go see it. So I forgot why we didn't see Joker in the movie theaters. But I did see Joker 2 in the movie theater.
yeah.
That I took a picture of it. That was the sign. I
Oh,
didn't know if you
interesting.
wanted to
Oh.
see that.
Read it for the group.
So it says, this is not your typical comic book film and is only intended for mature audiences. MPAA, rated R for strong, bloody violence, disturbing behavior, language, and brief sexual images. Under 17 requires a competent parent or adult guardian. Yep. Anyways, let's get into 2019's Joker. Achille, where would you like to start?
Because it's all over, let's start with the diagnoses in the first one. It's just easier because I do think that they shift a little bit from the first one to the second one, where I feel like I said, this is my opinion. I feel like the first one was more mental health focused. And I think the second one was more about like kind of him being in his head, if that makes sense. So the first one was more about the assessing of his mental health. And then the second one, it was like, oh, well, we know he's crazy. Crazy. And then I think the first one, so a lot, the synopsises say that he has intense depression, which all diagnoses are going to have anxiety and depression, and no matter which ones you really deal with. So he had depression, and I think antisocial personality disorder, probably schizophrenia, and then he had that neurological disorder that caused him to laugh violently and uncontrollably. I don't know if it had a name. I think they just called it a laughing disorder, which I was like, oh.
He had a business card that said so.
So, questions about, well, me and Rob usually go back and forth. You guys, questions, thoughts, anything you want to add on, anything you might see? Like, go ahead, sir.
Not necessarily add on, but question, do you think that his issues came about because of his relationship with his mother and the way he was raised, or just the fact that they were in a certain section of society?
I think when you talk about, like, if you talk about antisocial personality disorder, that is it's like they put out in movies and, you know, like Criminal Minds and all that stuff. It's developed and formed when you're younger, right?
Mm-hmm.
How you treat it. So his relationship with his mom was definitely a big part. Then you talk about genetic disposition and she had to have something going on. I don't remember. I know they gave her diagnosis and they said that she had stuff going on. Whatever happened, there had to be some kind of diagnosis passed on, some kind of mental health issue. But it's not always strict. Like if I have bipolar, doesn't mean my kids are going to have bipolar. They could have ADHD. They could have OCD. So it could be something that is similar, or it could just be a genetic thing that's passed down and it manifests and develops different because a big piece is environment. That's my belief when it comes to like a lot of the mental health. So I do think the environment he was raised in, I think that the bullying was probably the thing that pushed him kind of over the edge, where he was functioning, where he was probably right on the line. Getting bullied, getting beat up, getting hurt. I think that pushed him past the line where it was like, oh, okay. So then the depression, I don't think I can get better. Then we have the antisocial personality. Well, nobody likes me. But that came with the Joker, because I don't think he felt like he had an out any other way but than to be an extreme opposite of what he was. It was sort of like the whole how they juxtaposed him with Arthur Fleck. I hope that answered your question, sir.
More or less. What do you mean? How they made him different than Arthur Fleck? What do you mean by that?
I think because my feeling, the whole first movie, he was Arthur Fleck. He was the Joker for like 10 minutes.
Right.
So
at the end, you're saying?
At the end, yeah. Okay. At the end of the movie, he kind of manifested into the Joker. And if you go into 2, that could be challenged. But when you talk about 1, you see his development, you see his environment, you see how he was raised, you see him not having a father figure. And a lot of mental health statistics go to broken homes where they don't have 2 parents. You get there and you keep developing, and then it becomes, okay, the depression is there, the antisocial personality disorder, or the schizophrenia, probably schizophrenia. And schizophrenia is just like paranoia and hallucination. So you're seeing things. And you saw that they jumped back and forth between the 2 worlds a lot with him, where he was hallucinating, like when he was
when he went to the neighbor's apartment and stuff like that?
Yeah, when he went to our apartment and when he did all of that stuff. So I think that is more of the development. Then the antisocial, there's usually something that pushes you over the edge, that makes you disconnect from people and disconnect from emotions and feelings and just say, I'm tired of this shit. You know, if Rob always came on, was always picking on me, and be like, one day I could be like, Rob, fuck you. And I could just punch him in the face. That might be, thank you, sir. That might be a break, but imagine if it happened from everybody all of the time and you never got a chance to get back to kind of like feeling normal or basic. So when I say they juxtaposed him, they would go back when he was the Joker and he was performing. I know he wasn't really good, but when he was the Joker and he was performing, the Joker gave him strength and allowed him to be that personality that I feel like he felt like he needed to be in order to defend himself.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes, Robert.
So when he goes from Arthur Fleck to being Joker, is this like he's just finally become? So is it which one of these 3 things could it be? Number 1, is he just finally becoming who he always has been? He just didn't get a chance to fully realize that person. Is this a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde situation, or is this a multiple personality disorder situation?
I think that it's not dissociative identity, because I don't think he had more than 1 personality, or maybe 2. Unfortunately, when you get to the end of the second one, I think it discredits a lot of what he did in the first one.
Okay.
So I don't know that it was necessarily a different personality. I don't know if it was a facade or him just showing up, because a lot of people, even if you look at 7, John Doe, there was a disconnect. He's not plugged in to what's going on around him.
But he kind of knows what's going on.
He knows what's going on, but he's not plugged in.
Right.
Like the biggest difference between like somebody who's antisocial and someone who has psychopathology. Psychopaths kind of have a human trait. Okay. I'm not saying they're human, but they have more humanistic traits. Antisocial personality. Listen, you know how he said in 7, I just drew up on a person in front of me and I didn't even notice it. Those types of things are antisocial. So I don't think it was multiple personality, because there would be like a fuse point when he disconnects and he becomes a different personality. And it would be like what's the movie with the M. Night Shyamalan movie, Split. Like Split. The main he was multiple personality because you could see distinct personalities and distinct different people. So, you know, I can see Jimmy one day and then I can have a fusion. I can see Ryan the next day. I can have a fusion. I can see Rob. Then I can see Achilles. It's distinct personalities that they all have their own thing. I don't think he really had that. If anything, it was more like it was a kind of like emotional wave or just really manicky. But his manicky could have come out in anger or frustration. Because think about it, he never stood up for himself. He never even fought back.
So is there a chance that like psychologically he's almost trying to become somebody else because that's that person he can put all those like Joker can be everything that I'm not. Like Joker's X, Y, and Z. I'm not X, Y, and Z. And like kind of like using his mind to like try to be better than his current circumstances, like with who he is on. I'm not justifying murder. I'm just saying like his current circumstances of like self-worth and et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense?
I feel
am I just reading too much into it?
No, I feel like the Joker was a lot reactionary, and I want to bring Jimmy and Ryan in for their thoughts. But I feel like the Joker was more like a protector, like he protected Arthur Fleck. This is just this is I haven't seen the first one in a little while, but this is like he protected Arthur from being abused and being bullied and picked on because he never really sought out people to kill.
Right.
He never really went and said, "Oh, I'm looking for Ryan. I'm going to go get him." It was always in reaction and to defend himself because I don't think he had that capacity as Arthur. Because I think it just got beat out of him.
So anytime he got pushed, he pushed back. So like the people on the subway, they pushed him. He gunned them down.
Yeah.
De Niro's character was
Pushed
making
him.
fun of him.
Yeah.
No, he did what he did.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like a psychotic break. That's what it's called. It's like a psychotic break. So if Ryan just like was in his room one day and then somebody came in and just like, drew a chair at them and choked them out with the cords and was like, I hate everybody because they pushed them, because we all have a capacity. It's just our bounce back from that capacity to get pushed. It's how big is it? That's what mental illness. Everybody has a mental illness, but how do you handle it, and what does it look like? How is it presented to you? Are the questions that are going to bring up the most concern or distress? Like, you see people walking in the street, you see people, smoking and doing drugs and all that stuff. There's something that pushed them past the limit where they just can't function anymore and they lose touch with reality. And I would say he's a lot of that.
Yeah, I would agree. I think that it's also, I know the first movie, I don't know if it was the director's like intention or not, but obviously the first movie is really a reflection, or at least people interpreted it as a reflection of just, being, a quote unquote, like a man in society, male rage kind of thing,
Incel
culture,
yeah.
Right? The Andrew Tate kind of folks who consume that kind of media, where it's not throughout the movie, he's working on himself. It's his problems, but then when he's the Joker, it's not his fault. Actually, society is wrong, and society mistreats him, and they get what they deserve. It's not, it's not his fault. And I think that's a through line also with like all those kind of folks online, those young guys who are into that stuff. It's women won't date me because because women suck. It's not because
feminism's bad.
Right, or any of that. Yeah, and it's society's fault. It's not my fault that I can't get a girlfriend or whatever the case is.
But I do think a lot of people, when they don't have somebody to blame, like a lot of people go to like a doctor looking for a diagnosis because they need something to blame. Well, when you don't have a diagnosis and you don't have something to blame, then sometimes you kind of look at things. You know what? Every time I talked to Rob, he was mean to me. Fuck that guy. I'm gonna kill him because he pushed me and he pushed me and he pushed me and he doesn't listen to me and he cuts me off. And maybe I don't like redheads now, and I don't. All of these things, they add up. And you would, if you heard the justification, like when I've worked with people with like intense mental illness out of the hospital, the things that they justify, it's just like, are you sure? Is that really what happened? I had one guy, and then I don't know who wants to go. Then I had one guy who came down, he had a blue arrow pointed on his head, like the last airbender, right? Shaved his head, went upstairs with hair, came back down in the elevator with no bald head, had a blue arrow pointed on his head, and he had the blue on his face. He was like, oh, yeah. I said, hey, bud, what's going on? He was talking. I was like, hey, how come you put the blue arrow on your head? He was like, I don't know what you're talking about. What blue arrow? So it was like, oh. And you have to understand that you can't be logical with somebody who's illogical.
So are you saying that it was another self that did that and he didn't realize it, or what are you saying there?
I think it was him that did it, and I think he almost disconnected from it, or I don't think he had multiple personality disorder. I just think that he did a lot of things for shock and attention.
Yeah, I don't. For the record, I don't think he had multiple. I just wanted to
Right.
discuss that angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that angle's played up a lot in the first movie. I think
Right.
it's much more similar to that. But then, like you kind of said, once you get to the second movie, you know, the whole thing is about like they undo a lot of that, and they're just like, nope.
They're
Nope.
like, fuck this a bit more.
No,
Fuck
it was
this
you and you was a bit. And
Hey, you know all you incels that made us $1 billion? Fuck you guys. Fuck you guys in the ass. We're gonna go in a different direction.
And that's you go and you I don't as a writer, I don't understand going and undoing all of the work you put into the first one to set you world building. And then you just like, all right, let me just blow up my house. Why? Just because fuck it. Because depends on who you listen to. Was it studio interference? Was it Todd Phillips? I didn't want to listen to anybody. He didn't want to take notes. You're not taking notes from Safran. You're not taking notes from Gunn. You're not taking notes from anybody. Okay.
Well, again, I'll defend him for a moment. And of course, we're talking about parts 1 and 2, but specifically about part 2. That was his artistic vision. Whatever that vision was, whatever that itch he wanted to scratch, he scratched it.
Oh yeah.
That was his artistic vision. And as a filmmaker, if that's what you want to do, then yeah, no, you're not going to listen to David Zaslav or anybody. So
no, because I think to play devil's advocate to my own point, I do think that I don't know that James Gunn is listening to a lot of notes from people.
No, exactly.
But what do you, Jimmy, Ryan? What do you guys thought on the mental health aspect of the first one? What did you see? What did you think? Because I don't want to dominate.
Go for it, Jimmy.
I mean, you pretty much covered it. I mean, as far as the first one, yeah, it's just he gave off, vibes of multiple personality disorder, vibes of depression. He had that laughing disorder thing, obviously, and then a lot of
schizophrenia.
Schizophrenia. I think they diagnosed him with that at one point in the movie. Somebody talks to him.
Well, the whole Zazie Beetz situation.
Yeah.
So so he's got multiple, obviously mental issues going on at the same time. And, the whole movie is just about how somebody like that can be failed by the systems over and over again and kind of fall off the track. So I think that was a really, it's hard to talk about the first movie with and pretending I don't know the second movie. Without thinking about the second movie. So it's far, if I'm just thinking about the first movie, eyes closed, just the first movie, that's how I feel. I guess it's more a story about the system and how somebody can be failed by it over and over again and what that looks like.
Yes.
I wonder, do you guys think that do you think he was failed by the system?
Oh, most certainly.
I think he was. He had the psychologist or the therapist.
Well, but it was all bullshit. It was
Yeah.
the government's going, okay, we can check the boxes and claim that we helped these people. But you saw the sessions. He wasn't really getting any help. Have you been taking your medication? That's what it was. It wasn't like, hey, it wasn't somebody like Achille who, if he's in session, I'm sure he's way more active with his clients than that person seemed to be with Arthur Fleck. You know what I mean? And I'll add this as a side note, and then I would again, I want to hear from Ryan and Jimmy. And the one thing I'll add is he also had nobody in his life to help hold him accountable. Even something basic like taking his medication. It's not like he had a best friend that was like, hey, bud, you kind of seem a little off. Are you taking your medication? Like, he doesn't have that in his life, So I definitely think the environment and the society that he was living in, they could have done more to help them. But as we know in the real world, and, I know this and I know Achille knows this, if you need help and you don't have a lot of money, you could be number 400 on a wait list to get into a therapist. You might have to wait 2 years. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. I mean, so we can come back to one, I think everybody, unless there's anything anybody wants to add, I think.
Ryan, you got anything you want to add? No.
Okay. So I think that, just a quick synopsis. The second one, Folie à Deux. I don't like. He made him super ambiguous, and it was almost like, I don't know if you ever saw Don't Say a Word, where she had like catatonic. Well, she pretended to have catatonic schizophrenia. Where, okay, are you telling me that the whole first movie, everything he did was pretend. Everything was an act or farce. And I don't know that he knew that in the beginning of the second movie, but by the end of the second movie, I was just like, you just undermined the whole first movie. So I think so I would say like, I don't know what was going on with him. In the second one, he almost became like re-victimized because they were really big. Was he getting sexually abused? Was he getting abused? Was he getting beat up? Was he getting hurt? I don't know what was going on with Arthur during jail because I don't know what the guards were doing to him. I think I know they purposely left it ambiguous, but I don't think they gave enough of I don't think they gave enough of a bed to build on.
Yeah, I got that vibe too. I think that I think as far as they didn't like undo everything in the first movie. That's not like the vibe I got. They didn't undo it, but I think that they sort of, like Rob was saying, that nobody ever held him accountable. This entire movie was 2.5 hours of the world holding him accountable for everything he did, in the most scrutinous way possible. And I think that him sort of finally breaking down and admitting that, like, no, it was not another person that made me do this. The Joker isn't real. I'm not like another character. It just is me, and I am responsible for my actions. I think that was, that was the main thing that I took away from it anyway, as far as what they changed about him in the second one. And as far as like, I never got the vibes that he was being sexually abused. I did go back and rewatch that scene after that had been like a major discussion. I never got that vibe. I sort of took that scene as like they were washing him off after because he had like makeup on, so that they were kind of hosing him down after.
I don't think they fucked him. I think they just beat him.
Yeah, I don't know though. Some people there's credible arguments that it could be interpreted either way.
Sure.
So I just don't know.
But there's also arguments that, and we don't even ever see this on camera, that he was sexually abused when he was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know where people are getting those theories because we never see, that's never alluded to. That's never, I mean, to your point, what you were saying, like from what, and I've only seen the movie once, but from face value, from what I got from the movie, he got like the guards liked him because he kept to himself, didn't cause any trouble. He was an extreme introvert, blah, blah, blah. But then once he started getting cocky and arrogant and Mr. Showman, that's when they were like, fuck this guy. Let's fucking beat him. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Ryan, your thoughts, sir?
Yeah, I had heard the similar thing where after watching the movie myself, I didn't really have the same takeaways as what people were trying to point out. So my guess would be they are relating it to situations that they have seen or heard elsewhere. and they're like, oh, well, every time I've heard a similar situation to this has been the case. So maybe that's how they thought that those were the things going on in the movie, even though, like the others said, we never see those things.
Yeah.
I got to make a joke real quick. You were talking about 2.5 hours of them holding him accountable for everything. This was 2.5 hours of nobody holding Todd Phillips accountable.
At all. At all.
At all.
That's true.
Like, I don't even think Zaslav ever walked on set. If he would have been like, what is happening here? What is going on?
So, I mean, the narrative that I think a lot of people went with, or it was just a popular narrative, was that it seems like it was his response to the reception of the first movie. Do you think that's true? Because he's never done an interview where he was like, I don't like that incels identify so much with the Joker.
I have a quick theory.
But as somebody who spent a lot of time online, you know what I mean? You see those things.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people, not a significant amount to do a whole movie about it, but there was a non-zero amount of people that are those kind of dudes, and they saw the Joker, and that was like an icon. They think the same thing with like Taxi Driver. Drive,
the king of comedy.
The literally me guys, where it's they
Fight
see him,
Club,
right? He's a hero to them. He's just like me, right? He recognizes it's society's problem.
They watched the movie wrong.
You're right. And so, do you think that Todd Phillips really thought about that when he made the second one? And that was his response?
This is my theory, and if I ever met Todd Phillips, this would be the conversation I'd be interested in having with him. My theory is Todd Phillips wanted to make a movie that you left the theater going, wow, it's interesting. We got the backstory on how Joker became a Joker, but kind of similar to, and I no spoilers, but everybody here that's seen the Penguin show from the time it opens to the time it closes, your opinion of Penguin, okay? Kind of similar to that of like, yeah, fuck this guy. He's a murderer, blah, 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 blah. Well, what happened is like you said, all the incels watched it and was like, he's the fucking hero of the movie, or at least the anti-hero, if not the hero. And Todd Phillips sat through the pandemic and was like, well, I was going to write a sequel where he rose to power and became the Gotham criminal that we all know and love. But I think people watched my movie wrong, or whatever his vision of the first one was. So he purposely did a 180 to either say fuck you to all those people, or to be like, no, this is what I really meant. Like, this is what I was trying to say in the first one. You guys just didn't get it. That's my theory. What do you guys think?
Oh boy.
My short answer is I don't know. All I kind of know, not all I kind of know. All I kind of think is, since he did so well with the first one, they probably weren't worried about the second one. So yes, they probably didn't give him notes, but that's probably because they thought, oh, well, he did so good on the first, then even if the next one is half as good, then it'll be great. So
we're still going to get rich.
Yeah.
So should we talk about the movie overall for the second one? Just anything anybody wants to say about the second movie. And then, like you were saying, Achille, we can talk about both of them as a whole and blah, 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 and get into any other aspects of it.
Yeah.
But as a movie overall, Jimmy, we'll start with you. What did you think? Compared to did you like it more, like it less? I mean, I know your answers to some of these because we saw it together, but
true.
You have the floor.
I liked it less than the first one, but I still liked it. Understanding full well the first one is kind of like baby's first Taxi Driver, obviously.
Right.
If you've seen those movies before, it looks awfully familiar,
right?
But with a little bit of like a PG kind of coding. It wasn't PG, but it was PG for most of the movie, minus the couple of murder scenes at the end. It's like PG-13, but I respect what they did in that it takes a lot of balls to do that with a studio property that big.
The first one or the second one?
The second one.
To
and then bring in Lady Gaga and make it a musical, which I thought, oh boy, a musical like this is gonna suck. And then actually the musical parts were some of my favorite parts of the movie. That was when he was at his most, when he was himself, when he was Joker. was during those musical parts. So that was, and those were the most visually interesting parts. My downsides were all the prison scenes, him just like laying there, getting beat up, the stuff in between. And I certainly got the rug pulled out from under me. I thought when he went to the trial, there was going to be some big moment. They certainly build to this big.
Well, Harvey Dent.
You're going to be,
Yeah.
well, not even Harvey Dent. I'm not talking like the DC character stuff. I'm just talking about the way that they all build him up. I mean, Harley Quinn builds him up the whole time as you are the Joker. You're going to go out there. You're going to be the Joker. You're going to take it back, and they're going to show everybody that this is you and all this stuff. And then he does his big testimony. It sucks. He fails. He tries to question people. He stutters. He can't get anything right. People are laughing at him, and then he rests his case, and then they find him guilty immediately. So yeah, it was definitely. I think when people say that like Rian Johnson subverted expectations with the second Star Wars,
The Last
movie,
Jedi.
yeah, this is how you do that kind of correctly. Because boy, my expectations were subverted. I just was kind of bored in the middle. I think it went on. It could have been a little more concise or a little better the way they did it, I guess. But the message, I mean, what are you supposed to do?
You didn't like the
Do you
execution.
really want to see it?
But
No. You really, I mean, does anybody here really want to see the Joker just like do Batman style crime? This was a whole different vibe. You know what I mean? Like seeing him rob a bank with the guys with clown masks on just didn't feel. That's too cartoony for how realistic of portrayal the first one was. I feel.
Well, like the first one was dark, and the second one's like, you want to see dark? Hold my beer. Like
Sure.
those, dude. I remember when we were in the theater, like 10 minutes in the movie, Helen turned to me. She's like, "This is fucking dark." I mean, like they started with the sad cello music in the opening credits.
Mm.
You know?
But I mean, that's kind of what you have to go with, right? I mean,
Right.
could you imagine if they
Right.
did like the bank scene from the beginning of like The Dark Knight, but with
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
doesn't. It
This
doesn't
isn't
fit.
that. Right,
No, this isn't
right.
that. So I don't really know where. And I guess maybe if any of you guys have opinions where they could have gone with a sequel that wouldn't have been this, where do you go with it? I really don't know.
You mean a threequel?
No, if say Folie à Deux,
Okay.
what could you have
Well,
done that would have been different
So
than this?
shout out to my buddy Ski because him and his wife watched it the other week. He calls me. I'm sick in bed, and he's like, "What the fuck did I just watch?"
Right.
And he's like, "How did you give that movie 5 stars?" But what he said was, and I kind of feel this is what I think a lot of people thought was like this was going to be his rise to power,
Sure.
kind of like what we got in the Penguin show. For again, no spoilers, but for what for those of you that have seen that, like at some point he's going to get out of Arkham. He's hooking up with Harley Quinn because we know Gaga's in it. He's probably going to get some henchmen that are going to start working for him. Probably a bunch of Looney Tunes from Arkham. That's who's going to work for him. They're going to bust him out, and then he's going to rob a bank, or he's going to start stealing cars or something. You know?
Yeah, right, but it's like, but you've seen that how many times?
Right. Well,
You know what I mean? Not
Sure.
you, but I mean in general.
Sure.
How many times
Sure.
has that been done?
sure.
So then, why call it Joker? If you're gonna go against the material, and I know it was for a money grab, obviously, you don't put Harley and Harvey Dent in it, and then say, "Well, don't expect it to be comic book accurate." But you can say that all you want. You can say that till you're blue in the face. If people hear Joker, they're going to assume they're going to seek out comic book, at least a little bit. Harley Quinn, at least a little bit. The thing that I did think that was interesting was that they did it 380 or 180, 360, 270, 1210 with Harley's personality. Now, if you go comic book accurate or even other renditions, I know like Birds of Prey and Emancipation of One, fantastic Harley Quinn.
Great
She
movie.
became she became a bad bitch. I understand that, but that's not how she was written, right?
Well, they called
And-
her Lee. What didn't they call her Lee the whole movie or something?
It was Lee, yeah.
Yeah.
But she had a psychology degree and all that stuff, and when she turns out, spoilers for Joker, when she turns out to be like fake and she just is chasing the fame.
She's a silver spooner.
To me, it's like, really?
Right.
Why? If you're going to put Harley in, just call her something different. Because in the comic books, there's Punchline now. Or I don't know. I'm assuming she's still in there. She might not be.
Well, she
But
was
that's-
created for Batman the Animated Series, I believe.
Yeah.
Harley?
Yes.
Yeah.
But
So
she
who do you
was the
associate
stand-in
her
for
with?
the audience, though. She was the fans.
Right.
She was Joker fans in the, you know.
But who do you associate Harley with?
Joker.
And I know there are a lot of people that are LGBTQAI plus that want to say Ivy because they like the relationship with Ivy.
But Achille, to your point, even in the Kaylee Cuoco animated show, Joker's in it. Even in the Birds of Prey movie, you don't see his face, but whose silhouette do you see at the beginning of the movie? Joker.
Yeah.
And it's brought up like 5 times in the film.
No, and I agree. I think that, but to me, if you're going to do that, I know you want to go. Sorry, Ryan. If you're going to do that, make her some. She was boring. You put Lady Gaga in a role. I don't care if you're gonna put. Why do you have her sing off key? What's the point?
Well, I explained this to you on the phone. Joaquin Phoenix can sing, but he can't sing like Lady Gaga can sing. So I don't know. I think they were doing that on purpose to kind of level him out a little bit. But Ryan, you had your hand up. Please talk.
Well,
All right,
I
Ryan.
guess my question is, and honestly, I don't really care as much because the movie itself wasn't as interesting, which is why I never looked into it. But
Ryan.
was she really a fake, or was he just told that? What kind of confirmation did we actually receive? I just may not remember.
She was the one that told him. I thought.
I thought it was
The lawyer.
his lawyer that
so,
told.
The wife, the girl from 40-year-old Virgin.
Kathleen Keener.
Thank you, Kathleen Keener. Catherine Keener.
Yeah, sorry.
She tells him, she's like, "Oh, we looked up your girlfriend. I'm paraphrasing, but she's a silver spooner from uptown, and her parents are alive, and they're doctors, and she's
Right,
loaded."
which again, we hear that, but what kind of confirmation do we get that is true? So,
Well, we never got it because then they meet, and he was upset with her, but then she kept showing up. Go ahead.
did he really see her again? Are you talking about the stairs scene?
No, I'm not talking
very
about the stairs. I'm talking about
Okay.
the scene in the prison with the glass.
Yeah, but she doesn't proceed to confirm any of that, though.
No, you're right. You're right.
I thought she told him that he let her down and he wasn't. And I'm not even talking about necessarily that part. I'm talking about her role, her perception, because she was never written, as far as I know. Correct me if I'm wrong. She was never written to be like his equal, or more powerful than him, or more important, or more.
Not
famous.
until like the Kaylee Cuoco show.
Yeah. No, but I'm talking about like how she's originally written. You know how most people will like now, but they're also making it more inclusive, more balanced, more open-minded, more LGBTQAI plus friendly. All of that stuff, because if you're gonna punch up the relationship with Poison Ivy, because it was a healthy-ish relationship, it was more healthy than the relationship with the Joker, right? So you're going to lean into that. I just think that if you're gonna put her in, at least make her like, even to Ryan's point, what she was dull. Like, you do all of this, you just happen to find him and be attracted to him, and then all of a sudden, oh, what does she bring to the table? Why is she?
I think that I believe when she knew he was in there, she found a way to get in.
Yeah.
I'm questioning her backstory. What is the real backstory?
Well,
Yeah, I don't think we ever know her real backstory.
Right.
She was pregnant also. She said, "I'm having your baby." Don't know if that was ever true.
Did they ever
Right.
actually have sex? This all goes back.
Yeah. Did
Ryan,
she show up in his cell and they had sex? Did she
Right.
kill
Yeah.
herself at the end?
Well, we'll get to that. That's
Who
a whole
knows?
separate conversation I want to have. But Ryan, you bring up a good point, because if you go back to the Zazie Beetz storyline in the first one, is everything what we see?
Right.
You know? But there's one thing I want to mention. To me, and again, I gave the movie 5 stars. And I mean that. It's not for ironic purposes or some whatever reason. To me, the whole point of the movie was everybody lies in some way. Like the idea of this movie is everybody plays a part in some way. So she might be a silver spooner from uptown, but she's playing this part of this like poor, I don't know exactly. I don't want to, fuck it up describing it, but like the way she's playing a part, playing this character. Same with Arthur. He's playing a part. He's playing this until at the end of the movie where he's like, oh, I'm not this guy. I'm just Arthur Fleck. But that was my take. But I could be totally wrong. It's just how I read it.
But what if he wasn't? What if that was him? And he was just so disenchanted with himself that he didn't believe that was him. Because what if Joker from the end of Joker 1 came into jail? And remember when he got out and he ran away from the people trying to help him? Which, to me, it's like, okay. Because he embraced it in the first movie. And then in the second movie, most people that old don't have a total mental flip like that. Just a whole personality flip where you're one way at 55 and then at 56, oh, I'm going to be passive. They kind of beat it back out of him, I think. But I also think that he didn't believe who he was, so he started to listen to not the narratives about him from outside, that he was just, a crazy killer, but from the narratives of the people that were institutionalizing him, the guards and the other prisoners. So I don't know that mentally he became.
When he got in the car with when the bomb went off, he escaped. I legitimately thought, this is how it starts. He's got his henchmen. They're driving in the getaway car. They're going to go to a warehouse, and this is going to be the beginning of Joker, the crime syndicate, mob boss. Nope.
People with those kind of mental issues who are in jail and they're being and the system, you know what I mean?
Right.
They're not gonna go start a crime syndicate in a warehouse. You're gonna go to fucking jail and you know what I mean?
Right. You're gonna end up in Arkham Asylum.
Right. And the system's gonna abuse the shit out of you, especially if you're mentally ill. You're gonna get mistreated, and it is what it is.
Because he's not cunning enough. He's not smart enough to become a mob boss.
Arthur Fleck isn't.
No, he's not.
But if the Joker would have developed, why couldn't? Because if you go about a hierarchy of Batman villains,
sure,
who's one? And if you don't want to say one, who's 1A?
Joker.
Yeah,
I mean,
Penguin was never on par with Joker.
That's got a lot to do with the movies, but yeah,
and that has to do with I think how he's being portrayed. I think Colin Farrell's doing a really good job.
He's doing a 10 out of 10 job. But to your point, you can't have Joker without Batman, and you can't have Batman needs the Joker. You've talked about that for years.
You complete me.
Right.
You complete me. Don't talk like them. You're not one of them.
There's so many Jerry Maguire quotes I want to do, but we'll move on to another part of the movie.
What did you?
A little different, but yeah.
What did you think of? Before we go kind of into this split, what did you think of? What did you think of the animated thing at the beginning?
Oh, I liked it. I thought it was great.
It looked great too.
Yeah,
they did a really good job with it. I thought it was. You know what it reminded me of? The beginning of Who Framed Roger Rabbit. If you guys remember that movie, they have the animated short up top, and then it cut. They're like cut, and then he walks off the set.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah.
And the whole short is just the plot of the movie. Him
Right.
and his shadow, and then his shadow gets him in trouble and gets him beat up.
Right.
And then his shadow becomes his own. I'm trying to remember what happens, but then I think the
shadow becomes its own thing.
Becomes its own kind of thing and takes advantage of him. And I think that's sort of what. Yeah, and obviously that's the plot of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I think that just in the end, it's just kind of because when he escaped, I thought, okay, I don't know where this is going now. I have no idea.
Could be PTSD too. Could be something called complex PTSD, which is usually something for kids, but it's when you have the same type of abuse happen to you over and over for years. Because think about it, the way he was getting beat up, and what happens when you go to war? When you go, you look at people that are vets, and I've worked with vets, and a lot of them they can't function because You always have to be hyper vigilant, always aware. I had one guy who, they got his boat got bombed because he was in the Navy while he was asleep. So he woke up to his boat being bombed and being taken over, or trying to take over. Then another time he was on camp. He was at camp, like post. I don't remember where he was, and he got bombed. And it's like, and he has nightmares of just, he'll wake up to bombs going off and be like, oh my God. And I worked with him for a good 2 years, and some of the stuff, it's just, how do you write that out of somebody's brain?
You can't. By the way, major shout out to all our servicemen and women. You guys are doing the work.
Hey, number one.
Hell yeah. But yeah. All right. So I want to bring this scene up because I want to get everybody's take on it. I've probably talked to all of you guys privately about this, but now that we're having the public forum, this is just my interpretation of it. Because they were doing the cuts back to Harley when he was in court, when she stopped showing up.
Yep.
And she put a gun to her head. Okay. And then we don't see what happens.
Yep.
And then you have that sequence on the staircase, the famous Joker staircase.
Mm-hmm.
That was quote unquote on the way to her apartment.
Mm-hmm.
They have that whole conversation where she basically breaks up with him, but however you want to phrase that.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of that was in his head. I don't think he ever saw her. I think she really died. She died a sad death. And that was that. What do you guys think?
That's kind of how I interpreted it. I don't think she was there at the end. I thought that she probably killed herself. I don't think she was ever pregnant. I think that was just a manipulation tactic where she was trying to wrangle him in, saying, I'm not Joker, blah, blah, blah. He was kind of, distancing himself from her. And she was like, well, I'm pregnant with your baby. And so I think that was like a sort of a weird mental manipulation to use on him. And yeah, I think that maybe she killed herself. I think so. Like we said, she was, at least her character from what they said in the movie, she really had no reason to be there. She just was there for fun sometimes because she was, and again.
Wanted to sing in the choir, the prison choir.
Yeah. You said, why'd she sing in it?
No, wanted to sing in the prison choir.
Yeah. And she had multiple trips. She was checked in and out. She could check out anytime she wanted. She was voluntarily in there. I think she was just trying to get close to Joker, throughout the movie, obviously. And then I think, as we talked about before, she might have been like a sort of a stand-in for that Joker audience. And I think that, he was sort of saying that those people, your problems like that. Most of these people are like 20-year-old white guys who live at home with their parents in the Midwest. They're not like, you know what I mean? Like there's people out there with real problems and you do not have those level of problems,
Right.
Yeah.
You're taking up a bed in this mental health hospital that you don't have any issues in.
Well, not even mental health hospital. I just mean
just in general.
Just that whole mindset, that we talked about, maybe with even like the incel mindset where it's like, oh, poor me. But it's like, relatively compared to the world, buddy, you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Right.
So
yeah,
I want to push back. Why would she kill herself then?
Because the Joker wasn't really the Joker. He was disillusioned with it, and I think she saw him in the courtroom when he failed at his big giant attempt. That was it. She saw finally that he isn't the Joker. There really is no Joker. Like I thought, this is not at all what I thought, and I dedicated my whole however many years of life to this. Yeah, like he let her down, and he insisted he wasn't the Joker. She wouldn't believe it, and then when he showed her, he really wasn't the Joker, and he how pathetic he really was. She was like, oh, I think she felt embarrassed and just felt stupid, and
could be. I don't know.
And if you're dramatic enough to check yourself in and out of a mental hospital for funsies,
or strong enough, because if you look at the level of manipulation that it takes to do all that, so say she's a narcissist.
Sure.
Why would she kill herself? Why would she take her own life if she got to a point where, okay, so Joker's not the Joker, but he really was the Joker? Because if you're saying that there's just Arthur, well, then Arthur carried out those kills. What was it? Was it Murder in the First with Kevin Norton? Edward Norton? Was it Murder in the First?
Edward Norton? You mean Bobby De Niro?
No.
Talking about Primal Fear?
Primal Fear.
Oh, with Richard
Fear.
Gere, 1996.
Primal Fear.
Great film.
Yeah. Why was it a great film?
Well, I don't want to spoil the movie.
But both characters were him.
Right.
Well, if you look at Split, that's different personalities, and they all
Right.
like they know each other, but they don't necessarily hang out.
Right.
But both characters were him.
Well,
So-
I mean, a great example is Fight Club. It's
Yeah.
all him, but he doesn't know it's him.
Right. Till
You
he
know?
figures out it's him, but what does he do when he knows it's him? Does he reject it or does he accept it?
I would say he accepts it. Ryan, it's your favorite movie. What do you got to say?
Second, but yes. Well, I would say that he accepts that both are him, but
Yeah.
then he also realizes that he then has control over both of them. So
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's what happened to Arthur then.
Yeah.
He realized he had control over both parts of his personality.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
right.
so if we go under the premise that Gaga, when she said, "I don't believe you," well, what if Gaga was the only visionary that saw that both of them were him? But she didn't talk a lot about her mental health background and knowledge, but she still had it. So,
Right.
you know how. So, if you talk about therapists, you know what are therapists paid to do? Aren't they paid to manipulate you, change your thinking to a different way than what you're thinking?
yes, but ideally in a helpful way.
No, but that's what
Right.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if you look at who Harley is intrinsically, like who she
Yeah.
is as a person, if she saw that it was him, she could be like, "Oh yeah, I was let down, I was this, I was that." And therapists don't do that all the time. I was talking not very literal, because I'm a therapist. So,
Yeah.
but I do think that when Arthur realized he was Arthur, he had to accept it, and he does have to pay the price. I think Ryan, you had said that he had to pay the price either way, right? But he didn't get to pay the price. Maybe it was Jimmy. Somebody said that he had to pay the price either way, right? He had to deal with the concept of knowing it's him. Arthur knowing that he's the Joker. So what happens then? Well, before we know, he gets killed.
That's probably why I liked the movie so much, or one of the reasons I liked the movie so much, is it doesn't write in stone any of its answers. That you can take a lot of the things that happen in the movie in different ways, but the only reason you're able to do that is because of the first film, like the Zazie Beetz storyline in the
Yeah.
first one.
Yeah.
Because of that, did Harley go into it? Did they have sex? Did they not? We don't know. We won't ever know. And that's, to me, that's what's so interesting, is like all the angles you can go at it with, you know.
Mhm. I think that if Harley would have been more true to Harley, it would have paid more into the narrative of the first movie with the abusive mom and all that stuff, because
Abused people abuse people. And he would have started to get into her head, and then
Yeah.
he would have started to
but think about it,
manipulate her.
he would have
That movie would have made $1 billion, by the way. If they would have kept her more like the Batman animated series, oh god, yeah.
but I think they should have done some. I think he almost copped out of wrapping up the story, because you're presenting a Joker story. You're going to say it's not superhero, not comic book accurate. Okay, great. People don't want to hear that. You did it, but you're bringing in comic book characters. So just make somebody a DA. Make her girlfriend. Make him Arthur.
Right.
You could have just called it Arthur or something like that and done the same story.
Well, the weird
Right.
thand was putting Harvey Dent in there, because they didn't need to do that.
No.
So when I heard so-and-so was going to play Harvey Dent, I was like, oh, shit. And then when the bomb went off, I remember that's what me and Jimmy were thinking. The bomb goes off. We're like, oh, here comes Two-Face. Nope.
Yeah.
Never saw him again.
That's part of like the subverting your expectations, and I think it's also just part of the realistic world that the Joker is grounded in. It's not a comic book world; it's the real world. And when that bomb went off, you wouldn't probably have like half a zombie face and look like Aaron Eckhart, and say flip a coin, you would probably just have some minor skin damage, or you'd be really damaged, but you wouldn't look like that.
But it wouldn't be the
No, it
Tommy
wouldn't
Lee
be the
Jones,
perfect
Aaron
face.
Eckhart, right?
Yeah, it would be the perfect face, and I'm just in real life, he wouldn't just become a super. You know what I mean? Like those circumstances are so comic book, and
And I mean, again, it's like Nolan started it, and then Phillips doubled down on the reality. And I think what Matt Reeves is doing between the Batman and the Penguin show, it's like, I think that's one of. We'll go back to this in a second. I think that's one of the reasons why Batman's characters and world has just become like. Batman's always been my favorite comic book character, but Batman was my favorite comic book character when I could only name 5 of them. Superman, Spider-Man,
Joker.
It's become, if I hear there's a Batman movie coming out or something related to Batman, I'm so in, because what they've done for 20 years now, by the way, we're all getting old. 2005 was 20 years ago when Batman Begins came out. They've been able to continuously go down avenues of very realistic portrayals, and what seemed to be realistic in The Dark Knight, looking back, is like, well, to your point, it's a little comic booky, whereas this one,
it is a comic book. That's the whole premise.
Sure,
these are superheroes, super
villains.
Just as a side, I'm all for them getting back to the comic book. I think we've gone too dark, too gritty, too serious,
too realistic
for too long. Especially with DC. So,
well, you're gonna love James Gunn's DCU then.
What, that Superman trailer? That's more of what I want. I'm tired of the Snyderverse. Please put some color in it. They were printed in color. Those books, goddamn it. They paid for that ink. They paid for that color. It was not black and white.
No, I agree with the reality, but I also think that he's trying to play both sides.
Oh, for sure.
You don't call him Joker. If you don't want people to expect Joker, don't call him Joker.
You're talking about like Todd Phillips in the movie, creating the movie.
But I think that, so if you look at Barry Keoghan or Keegan, I don't know how to say his name. Keoghan, he's gonna be. I think I liked his short little thing, because I think they're gonna start to build him in the second Batman, and when the inevitable third Batman comes out, he's going to be the villain. And I think that it's going to be him and the Penguin and whoever else. Because
the whole Rogues Gallery.
Yeah.
And it's a genius move by Reeves, because word on the street is, because the next one's going to be coming out at Christmas time. Word on the street, it's going to be Mr. Freeze.
Mr. Freeze. Yep.
I don't know if that's going to happen, but how fucking cool. Because we got Penguin, Riddler, Joker, and Catwoman just in the first movie.
Yeah.
So to your point, by the third movie, Joker's running the Rogues Gallery.
He has to.
And you know what's great? We don't need a long backstory to Joker.
Right.
He's already in Arkham.
And I don't think he needed a backstory. I think that's one of the alluring points of him. I think that, he doesn't have to make sense to people, because I think he's there to challenge. Like I always Heath Ledger told, Christian Bale, you only have one rule. I need you to break that one rule. That's when you say, okay, I don't care what you're about. I just need you to break your one rule, and then I win. Oh, give two boats full of people, one cons, one regular people. Let's do a social experiment, because that's what he does. He's pushing morality. That's what he's supposed to do, right? He never pushed morality, and that's not a comic book thing,
right?
He's never pushed morality. Like he started to at the end.
Where is she? Where's Rachel?
Rachel, no.
Rachel, no.
It was supposed to be me, not you, Rachel. No. Me and my roommates used to say that to each other constantly in college. Rachel.
But I don't think he needs to be ultra comic booky, but I think he needs to have a purpose. And his purpose was to get his ass kicked for 2 movies. Except for the 20 minutes when he was the Joker between the two.
Sure.
And that's why,
in these ones.
You said what?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
No, I didn't hear what you said. What'd you say, Jimmy?
Oh, I said you're talking about these ones, right?
Yes.
Okay, his purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree. I think that's his I think this Joker. I don't think this Joker could exist with a Batman. To be honest with you, I'm so glad they didn't bring Batman in either of these two movies. It just doesn't make sense. This is just a different vibe, a different story.
Well,
I can't see him like fighting Batman in any way.
No,
can we talk about our
the
theory?
little
from the
kids
end
are
of the
beating him
movie?
up. How's he gonna fight back?
Right? Yeah, he's getting his ass kicked by everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it you or Grace that brought this? I think it was Grace. that
Which
brought-
is what?
So we're standing in the parking lot after the movie. I think it was Grace that brought it up initially, and I was like, "Oh my god, I didn't think about that. Think about that." So spoil. By the way, this is all spoilers for Joker and Joker Follow Do if anybody's watching the show. At the end when he's
Man,
the
an hour and
person
10 minutes in.
the person that kills him at the end of the movie, the way he was laughing was very reminiscent to Heath Ledger's laugh.
Mm.
So the theory, and I never looked into this. It's a cool theory though, and I'm going to stick with it.
Mm.
The theory is Arthur Fleck is who inspired the real Joker because timeline wise, this is like late 70s, early 80s. So the quote unquote Joker that's in the Dark Knight, Christopher Nolan, Heath Ledger, that's the guy that was in the prison that murdered Arthur Fleck because of his laugh at the end. And then he eventually gets out of Arkham and takes on that mantle. Again, crazy theory, but I'm like,
I heard that.
I kind of dig that, you know.
But then
It's
you're
just
copping,
headcanon.
you're copping out. Then he's copping out of you put the name Joker on it.
I don't think that's real. I just think like that would be interesting headcanon to explain away why Batman, Bruce Wayne's a child when these movies are taking place. Like that would explain a lot.
So maybe he could be Batman because Bruce Wayne was what, 8 or 9? Arthur Fleck might have had a chance against him.
Right. He would be like the more Mark Hamill, like older Joker, the Joker that's like 20 years older than him.
Yeah. Ryan, what are your thoughts? I see you over there pontificating.
I'm trying to think of something I can add, and unfortunately, all of you are doing a much better job, so I have yet to come up with anything more. I will agree that the guy at the end is probably who actually becomes the Joker, and I think that was kind of the point a little bit. But as to whether or not it is Heath Ledger's Joker specifically, I don't know that for sure.
Sure.
Do you think that, and I'll ask this question to Ryan and then obviously to everybody else, do you think that, what was your feeling on them killing Arthur Fleck at the end of the movie and in the way that they did? Do you think that had any payoff? Do you think that had any buildup? That was rewarding? Was that satisfying? Do you think that was, what's your opinion on it?
The short answer is I didn't really care. But that's unfortunately, and I'm not trying to be mean. It's just
Ryan bringing the smoke.
No. If I'm not enjoying the movie, I'm probably not going to think as much about it.
Mm-hmm.
Which, let's say this movie was really good, I probably would have watched some videos or some theories or something like that as to what may or may not have happened. But because I walked away and I was like, yeah, it was fine. I didn't have that want or desire to know more. So I didn't really think on it more either. So unfortunately, I did not care. And it's not the actor's fault, any of them, that is. It's just the movie itself I was fine with. So.
So in hindsight, do you feel like killing him off in that way was a good decision for the end of the movie? I mean, since you,
I don't know if I'd say
maybe.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd say good, but the way this particular movie was playing out, it did make sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sorry, let me
I'm
say
sorry, my
one
bad.
more thing. By what I mean by the way this was playing out is throughout the movie, we constantly saw that guy, whether he was in the background or somehow in the frame in a weird way. So we all knew, well, somehow this random guy is going to come into play later. So let's say that he wasn't in the movie at all until the very end,
Mhm.
then I would have thought, well, that's stupid and very confusing. But
Mm.
because of the way the movie played out, it made sense to me, even though, like I said, unfortunately, I just didn't care the way they wanted me to.
Mm.
I think they didn't show him enough. To your point, he was definitely in the movie, but the way I felt was that it was not satisfying because it was.
It
he
could
didn't
have used
really do-
more of him for sure.
Yeah, he didn't really do too much. I think he maybe had one line. He tried to bite a guard one time, if I remember.
Mhm.
And I think, but him and Arthur never really interacted that much. And then I think that sort of the implication, or I don't remember if this was like implied or if this was like a theory afterward, was basically that the guards set it up, because they told Arthur, hey, you got a visitor. They brought him out to the hallway. Then the guard disappeared around the corner real quick. And then this guy came up and he had a knife. You know what I mean? So this was like not random. It was kind of set up that the guards had kind of got him.
You very well could be right, but I didn't look into it any further, so I can't say for sure. But that sounds like a plausible thing. And
That's how they made it look in the movie anyway. I mean, with the way that they shot the guard walking around the corner, Arthur wondering where the guards went, this guy comes out of nowhere, where did he get a knife from? I mean, that was sort of how it was implied. Was that a satisfying ending? I don't know.
For a very, 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 very long time, I didn't know how to feel about the movie. I still don't know how to feel about the movie.
Still don't know how to feel about what?
The movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry, you cut out there.
Oh, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
I said for a very long time I didn't know how to feel about the movie. I still don't know how to feel about the movie. I land more and more at the camp of I didn't really care for. I do think it was vapid, like really empty. Like I think Ryan, you said it was boring, or you weren't interested, right?
Yeah, I didn't care.
It didn't. It didn't do it. I think even the first one, I had to watch the first one like 2 or 3 times to really like it. And obviously, Jared Leto was great in the first one, and everybody was really good in the first one. I had to because I didn't like his portrayal of the Joker, because to me, he wasn't the Joker in the movie. He was Arthur Fleck.
You mean Joaquin Phoenix?
What did I say? I mean Joaquin
You
Phoenix.
said,
sorry.
yeah.
I mean
Too
Joaquin
many
Phoenix.
of them.
Yeah, there are, but it's only really one that matters.
Yes.
So it didn't move me. Like it didn't need to be made.
Right.
And I think that killing him, whatever the reason was, to me it's a cop out. You don't do anything with the character, and you just want to say, okay, that's it. I'm not going to keep going. And I know he didn't want to do a second one, and he probably didn't want to do a third one. But if he would have put effort into it, I don't think it was written well either.
I also have a theory. I don't know how much water it holds, but here's my kind of theories. For one, we all know Joaquin Phoenix. Joaquin Phoenix does not do sequels. I mean, top 10, possibly top 5 favorite actors of all time. Denzel Washington never did a sequel until recently with the Equalizer movies, and then obviously Gladiator 2, but he wasn't in the first one.
Right.
I'm sure Todd Phillips, probably had some conversations with him, like, you're not playing the same guy you played in the last movie. You're going to be playing a little bit of a different character. And that's probably what was appealing to him, right? When I was right with the fact, and I think a lot of people thought this, that when they said it was going to be a musical, I was like, well, they're not just going to start. It'll be like in their minds, or like cutaway scenes or whatever. And they pulled that off pretty well. But I think at the end of the day, and this is just my opinion, I have nothing to back this up. I think at the end of the day, over the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been what? It'll be 2 years this summer that Safran and Gunn took over the DC.
It was right before Aquaman 2 came out, right?
Okay, so 23, summer of 23. Here's my point. I think maybe Todd Phillips wanted to do a trilogy and have the third movie be what we were all expecting the second movie to be. But trying to have a Joker there and Barry Keoghan and the Matt Reeves world, I mean, it's hard enough. It's going to be hard enough now doing the Matt Reeves universe separately from the DCU. They're going to do it, because I don't believe the rumors that I'm hearing.
I hope
they're
they
going to
do.
do it. but it's going to be hard enough. I think people can buy it because it's Batman. But to have a whole nother Joker universe as a third cinematic universe that's concurrently going on with everything, maybe they were like, this is it. We're just going to do one more. You know what I'm saying? I have nothing to back that up, but it's just a theory.
You think there'll be a Joker 3?
No.
No, I think maybe Todd Phillips wanted to make it a trilogy, but by summer of 2023, we've already got the Matt Reeves universe established, and James Gunn, Peter Safran just took over DC, and they're going to make their own DCU. You get what I'm saying? To have all of those universes for audiences.
I think Todd Phillips did not want to make a second one, much less.
I don't think he wanted to make a second one either.
No, I got
Right.
like a Gremlins 2 impression of this movie where
Ah,
where they were like, "Fuck you, we're gonna make whatever we want." Then, if you're gonna make me make a sequel, that's
Good reference.
the
Ryan gets the
impression
Ryan gets the Joe Dante jokes.
Yes, that's
well,
that's
it's not necessarily a Joe Dante joke, but it's a joke that particular movie. But yeah,
yeah, and that's sort of how I feel that they kind of just went like, let's just do this, let's do whatever we want, because like I said, I don't think he wanted to make a third movie, much less a second movie.
So it was just like, here's a bag of money, do what you want.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was, here is an infinite check. Here's a blank check. Do whatever you want. You made us so much money the first time and have such goodwill for the first movie.
right.
Even if, like you said before, even if this movie is painfully mid, it's $1 billion easy.
And thinking about it now, I didn't think about this until you just brought it up. I bet you this was Joaquin Phoenix's biggest paycheck he's ever gotten in his life.
Probably.
Because what did he do? He did Gladiator, Signs, which were Gladiator cost money, but he didn't get paid a lot. That money went to Russell Crowe. He
Napoleon.
did Signs, which was a modest budgeted film. And then he did like Walk the Line, which was a modestly budgeted film.
What about Napoleon?
And then he kind of like was like, fuck Hollywood, I'm just going to do what I want to do. And he's literally just done movies where he's probably only making like $200,000 per film for the last
like
decade.
Weird indie shit. Right?
Yeah. I mean, great films. Don't get me wrong. The PTA movie where he's the photographer and, you know, what you were never really here. That movie.
The Master.
The Master. Yeah.
I don't think he wanted to make a part 2 because they were. Do you remember when they were talking about him potentially taking over DC?
Todd Phillips. Yeah.
Yeah. They were talking
I
about
remember
Todd
that.
Phillips taking over DC, and I think maybe that's when he probably might have wanted to do a 2 or 3 part. Maybe that's when he had the fire. I don't feel like he had the fire for it. Like I said, I don't feel like it was written well. And you know, I think me and Rob have talked about this. I think a lot of these movies that were produced during the strike and the pandemic, like a lot of those movies are coming out lately and they're just not written as well. And I think that hopefully starting like maybe this year, some of these movies like Wolfman, a lot of these movies look like they're just written better. You know, every now and then you got a couple, but I feel like a lot of these movies just weren't written well.
The one thing I'll add to that is, and I do remember when that was a rumor that he was going to take over DC. You know what the worst thing about this whole situation is? And I really feel bad about it. Todd Phillips was the guy that made The Hangover. And then he pulled off Joker. And people were like, holy shit, you can do it. You can go from directing old school and these kind of like frat boy comedy movies to making like a real movie, like an artistic vision. And I'm using air quotes.
Yep.
Now after the second one, he's got to reclimb that hill, and that sucks. That fucking sucks, because it's like obviously the guy's super talented. You know what I mean?
Well,
It's
he
like,
wrote
what
it,
he,
right?
would-
He
what
wrote
he
them,
did
right?
with $65 million was awesome. You know.
Yeah, but that was Joaquin, like in every single scene, you know, chewing up the film. So let me ask you:
God created the world, and he literally created a situation in which Joaquin Phoenix could do that and chew up the whole room.
Well, let me ask you a question, Rob. If I said, okay, you got Leonardo DiCaprio for 2 hours and a half, I just need you to write a script. Exactly.
All right, let's rock and roll. Like, let's do it.
Well, Joaquin, first of all, he's out of his mind, and you know, a
In a
lot of
good
it is
way.
like, Well, when I say that, I mean that a lot of the stuff that, like, he apparently really went into the refrigerator. It wasn't in the screen, wasn't in the script. Like, I'm just gonna go in the refrigerator, like stuff like that. You have to go into those kind of roles, just like Heath. They said, Aaron Eckhart was talking about Heath would just pace back and forth and just talk to himself and then be like, all right, I'm ready. And that stuff kind of breaks you when you have to do stuff like that. I think he's talented, but I really think, what is it? He screwed the pooch with this one. Is that what it's called? Is that the
Todd or Joaquin? Who are you talking about?
Yeah.
More Todd.
Todd. Okay.
Because I mean, look, Joaquin Phoenix can book any role he wants to.
I think he was fine in the movie.
I thought he was great in the first one. I still think he was great in the second one. That transformation of his body and just the different emotions that he portrayed is insane in the movie. I think he's a fantastic actor. I would just love to have been in the room when they gave him the script and the pitch for number 2, or like Lady Gaga. You know what I mean? Like, here's your script.
They were just like, okay, listen,
what
I
the
need
hell is this?
We're
I need
singing
you to
songs from the
improvise
50s and
everything.
60s.
Yeah, I'll be more excited when Todd Phillips does an original property of some sort.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean,
Did he do The Hangover? All 3 of them?
Mhm.
Okay, well, the third one sucked ass. So I'm surprised.
it was all right.
I'm surprised he was able to come back from that.
Was that the one where they go to Africa or whatever?
No, that's the one. I don't remember.
So-
Asia?
Yeah, they go to like.
Hold on,
No, the
hold
Asia's the
on.
second one.
That's the second.
Yeah, second one is Thailand.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen the third one. I don't think.
it's
tough.
fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
I remember me and Ski saw the second one in the theater.
Second one's not bad.
Yeah.
First one, obviously.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just not good at sequels. And it's hard to, if you're planning 3,
Maybe
it's hard to make a bridge movie.
that's and it's fair to come. It's hard to ask somebody to come up with this genius idea and this lightning in a bottle and then say, okay, do it again.
Mhm.
That very rarely works out, and especially in Hollywood.
And I think one of the reasons why it worked so well in the first one is because Phoenix is so used to doing more independent films
Mhm.
where he's just allowed to really method act, not that Jared Leto shit where he's putting fake rats in trailers and fucking with. I mean, like really become like way more akin to Ryan, help me, Lincoln, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yes.
Way more akin to Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah.
than like the method acting that we hear about in the tabloids. And I'm sure when he got on the set with this, it was like, holy shit, there's 300 people on this set.
for the
Like,
second one.
yeah, like what is happening?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I don't know that they have maybe had to send like dailies to the studio. I don't
Sure.
know how tightly monitored they were, but it seems like pretty not monitored because I can't imagine studio executives seeing footage from the second movie and being like,
Well-
looks good, keep going.
Well, here's what I'll say, and this is no shade to any of the people that worked on these films, but we know how involved Disney is with its properties, and I couldn't scratch my head even more on the last Indiana Jones film. Same deal with some of the other stuff they've done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, how did that get past? All the
For better or
But-
worse,
but
it's purely his vision, you know
sure,
what I mean?
sure, yeah,
Which
yeah.
Right.
I can
But
respect.
that a lot of that Disney stuff is, part of the Chapek verse. This is the remnants of Chapek.
Right. We're getting back to the
We're
Bob
getting back
Iger,
to Bob Iger
Yeah.
and
Kevin Feige.
Kevin Feige and all of them, and it's just like, but yeah,
So,
So-
I want to bring something up.
of course you
And
do. I love
Don't
it.
worry, we will tread lightly on what we think of this.
Now I'm worried.
Okay.
Now I'm definitely worried.
I'm not.
So we've all seen what's happened over the last month or so with a certain somebody that murdered somebody in cold blood in New York.
Okay.
Luigi.
Oh.
What's his name?
Mangione.
Mangione. The Luigi.
Mangione.
And I swear to God, when they were doing the perp walk with him, I saved that photo and I
Yeah.
put it in my family group chat. And I said, I legitimately feel like I'm in a Christopher Nolan or Matt Reeves universe right now.
They made him look like the
Because
Joker. Yeah.
Not only did that guy straight up do basically what Joaquin Phoenix did in the first movie,
Yeah.
was just a talk show host,
Yeah.
but somebody who had a lot of power.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
the fact that I think he's only had 2 court appearances thus far. He literally has fans outside. There are thousands of people on the internet that, I mean, they're selling merch on Amazon, coffee cups with the guys.
People love chaos.
Is that not eerily similar to Joker Folie à Deux with the crowds that they had outside that were dressed up as it's so weird, man.
It's not weird because this is go ahead, Ryan.
So yes, Rob, you are correct in the sense of those things are happening. What I would personally say is if he did not look the way he does, I doubt it would be anywhere near this level.
You mean he's like man. Very attractive?
Yes.
Gotcha.
He's not my type, but he's a very handsome man. Oh damn it! What was I gonna say? Come on, old man. Fuck! I forgot what I was gonna say now.
Sorry.
No. You were
here. I'll bring up one other thing. I don't know if you guys remember.
And he
what
said
was that, Jimmy?
Not his type.
Yeah, he said it's not his type.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys remember how many years ago it was, if it was a few years or maybe before the pandemic, but there was a mugshot of this random person who just happened to be very, very attractive, and it became a very popular thing on the internet.
He had like the, I get in trouble all the time, so I'm just kidding. He kind of had like the mixed race.
That like, and some piercing eyes. Yeah. So yeah, when when this happens to certain people, it's more than likely because of those kind of factors, as opposed to, I don't think people are talking about what this Luigi guy stands for. It's more like what he looks like while he's standing.
Well, so, I hate to say it, but I also know for a fact there are thousands and thousands and thousands of people in this country that think he's a hero.
Well, yes, and
I think that's the majority of it. I think that being attractive certainly helps. It sells those merchandise and moves those
right.
To Ryan's point, yes.
To Ryan's point, but certainly I think most people identify with him because just the general frustrations with the system. He fought back. And there's
let's use that term loosely, but yes.
We'll use that term loosely, yes.
That's not but it's something. And I think a lot of people are frustrated because nobody I know has a positive relationship with health insurance in their life. By design, you won't have a positive relationship because otherwise they would lose money. That's how
not in the United States.
Well, yeah.
Not in the United States.
I blame Canada.
United States, I guess. Yeah.
Well, other countries don't have the system that we have. You go to some countries and doctors don't make the money that they make here.
What's the point if healthcare isn't for profit?
Yeah.
Why would you want to help people?
Like I said, I kind of wanted to, not go down certain roads, but yes.
But tying this back to the Joker. Tying this back to the Joker.
Yes, Jimmy, that's right.
That's why I think Rob is right when he says, and I saw the same thing when they were perp walking him, and he looks like the scene out of the Joker.
And they got the fucking, they got the guns.
Yeah, they've got SWAT teams.
Eric Adams is with them. He looks like Commissioner Gordon.
Felonious ass mayor. They got all different, every single, 3-letter agency is following him.
Every 3-letter.
All the acronyms.
All the acronyms are there. No one's going to bomb them and break him out like the Joker. I mean, it was just a big power play, basically.
Right.
But people, I think, identify with it in the same way that they did in Joker Part 2, where people are fed up with the system.
Yeah.
And even if this guy is killed two people on the subway and a talk show host, that doesn't change anything about the system. But it's somebody who did something, and so everyone backs him and cheers for him. You know what I mean? Because they feel that he represents them, and they have the same pain that he does.
Right.
Even though
they see themselves in him, in the person.
Even though that's not murking one CEO of United Healthcare is not really going to change the system,
right?
But somebody did something, and in a system where you just get shit on one direction, hey, somebody did something,
right?
I think it let off a little steam.
Well, what I was going to say is that I do think that the reason why he's so popular because this is the era of the villain. This is the bad person era where, you think about. Now the stories are because Infinity War was the first time that the bad guy won at the end of the war. It was like, what's going on?
Hashtag Thanos was right.
You're right. And that's
Dude,
what-
listening to 5-year-old kids crying to their parents, what happened to Spider-Man?
yeah.
Man, that was a rough
Have
couple
none of
weeks.
none
man.
of these kids, none of these people saw Empire Strikes Back.
Nobody's
Nobody's
Well-
ever heard of Empire Strikes Back.
That's true.
That was the
That's
ultimate
true.
downer movie. The
But
ultimate
that's what
downer.
happens when you have a country that it's built on the bad guy kind of being a good guy, because
Sure.
morally, think about it, they're taking on moral. It's not I'm going to get all this money and I'm trying to kill this person, and I'm trying to end hunger, I'm trying to alleviate, like, who's not going to relate to that? So you take the villains, you give them the protagonist characteristic traits, then psychologically we're going to align with them more. That's why, what if, and I say this all the time, I say Batman's the bad guy and Joker might be the hero, because if the Joker is just doing what he's doing to challenge people to do something different, what's Batman doing?
Well, look at Wicked. Look at how popular Wicked
Oh,
is.
yeah.
I understand it's because of the musical, but let's look at the text. You
Yeah.
know,
And Cynthia Erivo,
Cynthia
Erivo, she acted her ass off too.
Yeah, but I mean, again,
No, not Robert. She acted her.
No, she acted. 100%. We talked about Wicked for an hour the other night. I know.
Yes.
My point is simply, in the opening scene of Wicked and in the Wizard of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the West is pure evil, right? But by the time we get to the end of that movie, now again, please don't anybody spoil it for me and Ryan. And I think
she is
who have
depicted
no
as
idea
evil.
what's going to happen in the second half. But yes, she's depicted as evil. But again, from a YouTuber's review that I watched, that I can't believe he had the best review out of everybody.
Oh yeah, Ben Shapiro
Shapiro.
had a really good review of it. I mean,
Here we go.
he did
That little
poop-
weasel really cooked on that one.
He
I'll
did
give him
poop
credit.
all
I'll give
over
him credit.
Ariana Grande.
Yeah.
And I don't think she was as bad as he portrayed her, because I thought she was pretty good. Like, if you know her acting, she was kind of on brand.
Right.
Did Cynthia outact her? Yeah, but I don't think it was Miles. I think she sings better than her for that type of music.
Right, but he had brought this up because I didn't know it was based on a bunch of books. So when I was
Wizard of
watching
Oz?
the review, yeah,
What's
it was
Robert?
the books. The Wicked books came out during the Bush era, and I think it was Oz was supposed to represent George W. Bush or something like that.
I don't
Anyways,
know.
not getting into actual politics, but that's when these books were written. That's what, according to Ben Shapiro, that's what he said.
Yeah.
The Oz character was supposed to be based on. So in
Yeah.
the books, she's the good guy,
Yeah.
and Oz is the bad guy, and everybody else are just people that are falling in line and following
Yeah.
status quo.
But if the bad guy is doing stuff that the people perceive as helping them, lifting them up, then again, that's the bad guy's always going to get the light.
Sure.
You look at people who
Yeah,
are,
people like a villain always.
of course they do, but I
Yeah.
think
We're the
I
Tony
think the
Soprano
villains,
generation.
but I think the villains are being written better. Stringer Bell, Omar,
Breaking Bad.
Thanos, Killmonger, because the when the heroes aren't being written as good as the bad guys, that becomes the problem.
Well, I mean, this is a totally separate conversation, but this goes back to the good guys. It's hard for the good guys to have depth because they don't do anything wrong, which is the reason why Snyder tried to make Superman super flawed in Man of Steel versus Richard Donner's vision in the 78 version, whereas it looks like Gunn's going back to the Richard Donner,
Mm-hmm.
Boy
They-
Scout.
At least closer to.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what about somebody like John Wick? Is John Wick a good guy? Is John Wick a bad guy?
They killed his fucking dog. He's the good guy, man.
Robert, I'm gonna need you to land your plane.
He's certainly portrayed as the good guy.
No, but I mean,
Right.
what justifies murder?
Yeah.
That's an open-ended question.
Mm-hmm.
So, for me, it all goes back to Sling Blade. If you haven't seen Sling Blade, go watch
French
Sling
fried
Blade.
taters.
Go watch that movie. Go watch
Sling Blade was
Dwight
great.
Yoakam's performance, and you'll be like, CC.
But yeah, I mean, and if you talk about
No,
Just they call it. What's the full name of that movie?
it's called Sling Blade. I have
Blade.
2 copies of it. Well, you don't have a DVD player,
That's
so
true.
you can't borrow it anyways.
Nobody does. Rob.
Ryan, I'm working on him, buddy. Ryan's physical media.
Okay.
But if you go back to even Jimmy's point about Darth Vader was super strong, and he was like the antithesis to Obi-Wan. I'm not a Star Wars fan, but he was the antithesis to the bad guys. It wasn't really Luke originally. It became Luke after a while. That's my understanding of it. But he was just badass on his own.
He wasn't really fleshed out in the first Star Wars movie at all. Darth Vader just kind of doesn't really do too much or say too
He
much.
just kills people.
He's just evil. He's just generally
Yeah.
threatening. I think he only kills one person.
Well,
He kills Obi-Wan, and
when
I
he does
think,
the hand thing,
Yeah.
that's the only other person I think he kills. Him and Obi-Wan.
did he kill him or just choke him?
Well,
I
they
don't
don't.
remember.
It's a PG movie that came out in 1977. They don't show him
Yeah.
dying, but
Okay.
I assume he's dead.
Yeah.
Ryan, what do you think?
It's definitely 2, the guy at the beginning, and then Obi-Wan.
Okay.
But I can't remember. I think all of the "you failed me for the last time," where he's like on a roll with his commanders, just killing one after. I think that's all Empire.
Mm.
I
I think
don't think
Empire.
there's another one in. Oh well, he might blow up a X-wing at the end. I can't remember if he does or not.
If he was
But
like a pilot, yeah, I don't
yeah,
know.
so it might be 3.
What's the one where they steal the blueprints for the ship?
Well,
Well,
it's the first one and the. Sorry.
No,
the 7th one.
The
Oh, you're
the
talking
one
about Rogue One?
Rogue One.
Yeah,
Rogue
yeah.
killed everybody.
Well, yeah.
But that ending of Rogue One where Darth Vader is just blasting people with lightsabers,
Yeah.
that's not at all what he's like in the original movies.
No, I know.
that's
But
very
George
after
Lucas
effect.
did. I mean, again, I can't believe I'm defending George Lucas, but when he did the first movie, he didn't know.
Well,
Luke and Leia are like they kiss at the end of the
to be
movie.
fair,
They're
George
kissing
had a
cousins.
better idea of what it was going to become than anybody else.
Yes.
That's true. That's true.
But
Yeah.
like Boba Fett, he is in the first movie, doesn't do jack shit,
Right.
becomes like a fan favorite. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So it doesn't matter. I guess what I'm saying is it doesn't matter how well you write a villain sometimes. If
They're
there's
just
something about him
villains.
that's cool, people are just gonna fuck. It's
They're
badass.
like, oh,
Look at his
Look at-
armor. It's badass.
oh yeah,
It doesn't
he's,
matter if he
he's
doesn't
in
say a
all
word.
black. Yeah, he's got a.
Dude,
he's got
We
a
live in a
70s sword.
society.
Yeah, true.
Look at
society.
who's the one with the spike? Darth Maul. Is that the spiky face
Yep.
one?
Correct.
Uh-huh.
Did he have the double? He had the double blade, right?
Yeah, the double saber.
I was like, oh, I'm gonna watch
Badass.
Star Wars. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's what's up.
He doesn't
Or
do
think
too
about,
much
like-
in the first one, and then
Mhm.
he has a much
Any
larger
villain that's
role later on.
interesting because they have a purpose, or they just don't give.
Yeah.
They give zero fucks, like the Borg, or Q from Star Trek. The Borg just were like, yeah, we're just gonna eliminate everybody. But when they gave them a purpose, when they were trying to assimilate data, that was like that story was cool, just because you see the battle. But then it's like, all right, well, they're trying to advance their race. Aren't we doing the same thing? And we vilify them, but again, you make the villains interesting. You know, did you hear that they're gonna? This has nothing to do with Jokers. They're gonna recast what's his name? T'Challa.
Well,
They're gonna recast T'Challa.
so
Maybe.
here's
They're
what
gonna recast.
here's what they're doing. Remember, so spoilers for Wakanda Forever, everybody. At the end of the movie, he obviously has a child. That
Yeah.
child's name is T'Challa.
Yes,
They're going
sir.
to do a time jump and have a new T'Challa Black Panther, but they're
But they-
not recasting the human being that was the T'Challa,
'Cause he's
the
dead.
son of T'Chaka. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This would be the grandson of T'Chaka.
But his name's gonna be T'Challa, and you
His
know
name's
people are
good.
gonna
I
say-
know, but like
They're gonna be like, oh my god.
it's not a it's a recast, but
Wait.
it's a smart way around it. You know?
I mean,
That
$200
would be
million.
Great. That would be great. I heard somebody say, I thought it was interesting. Michael B. Jordan as him.
That would be, dude. That would be. Well, that would make sense with the multiverse. That'd be a baller move. That'd be a baller fucking move.
I would love if Michael B. Jordan.
I think they should have done it in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, who said Killmonger's dead? Who said that?
No,
He's in the astral plane in the last
yeah,
movie.
yeah, he for sure
He's
is
kinda
dead.
dead.
Okay. I need to rewatch the first Black Panther. But
I didn't think he was
He's
dead
for sure
either.
dead.
I mean, he's a little dead. He's like dead, not dead.
he's halfway
Oh.
there.
Glinda, just
alright.
how dead is she?
She's not moving. All right, you got 7 minutes. So I do want to just get to the point when I said I have to go in 7 minutes because I'm tired and I've been up since 3. Because I flew to New York today, so I was like,
I was gonna say I know where you're at now. Yeah.
Behind the
No.
scenes, yay!
Yeah.
no. So I'm in New York for my best friend's baby shower on Saturday.
Yeah.
But my flight was at 6 a.m. this morning, so I had to get up at 3. So I've been up since 3. So I was like, ugh, that's why I had to push it back. And then I had a person who his girlfriend called him cheating, blah, 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 blah. A whole bunch of other stuff that doesn't matter. It's the life of a therapist. Anyway,
Yeah.
I do want to talk about, I had mentioned that I feel like the movies are bipolar. And I do. And Jimmy, the astute intellect he is, the man of profound knowledge and wisdom, said that he sort of agreed with me. So I'm going to ask him first. Do you feel like, do you think they balance each other enough? Or do you think it's just like, all right, I'm just going to shit the bed right now?
If you're using the analogy of bipolar, I certainly think that the first one is manic and the second one's depressive. I think that's pretty accurate for either of them. And I think that's, I joke, but not really. I mean, the first one is a high. It's him on top of the world by the end of the movie. And him sort of in this, calling it this manic state for the entire movie, basically running around, freaking out. And then the second movie is just pure depression and just him at his lowest for the entire movie. And then not only him at his lowest, but then everyone in the movie kicking him while he's down the entire movie. And then he dies.
And then they murder him.
It is just.
But they murdered him. And everybody was like, oh, yeah, fuck him. Fuck him. Yeah. All right, good.
Yeah, it is bad. I mean, bad as in like it is sad. The entire movie.
Yeah.
There is no upbeat, no moment. They don't even let off the brakes at all. Like they don't let off the gas. It's just pure downer. The whole movie. So I think they are very bipolar in that sense, and I don't know if that reflects the way the director felt about making them. He was probably very excited to make this project, the first one, and probably was depressed to make the second one. So maybe that kind of bled through. With the level of effort in them, I guess, in the writing.
It was like, oh, I gotta break up with this girl. Damn it! Let's do it in person. Blah blah blah. Mr. White, Dr. White, Professor White, what do you think? Do you think the movies balanced each other off? Do you think that you don't have to use the bipolar analogy, but do you think they balance each other enough? Do you feel like it was lopsided? I know you said the second one was unmitigated, vapid, boring, drawl mess. You didn't say that, I did, but go ahead, sir.
To appear like I know what I am talking about, I'm going to say I concur.
Do you think they balance each other off, or do you feel like there was something left on the table, or a lot left on the table?
Honestly, I have not put enough thought into it to go one way or the other, and I'm going to revert back to what I said earlier, which is if I personally enjoyed this movie more, I would have thought about it more, but because I didn't, I just haven't thought about it as much. So
Logo, aka Mr. Fishback, thoughts, feelings.
So I'm gonna take a page out of both of Jimmy and Ryan's books. I don't, and to what you were saying, Achille, I don't think they left anything on the table. I think every last drop that could have been squeezed out of this was squeezed out of it. I agree with Jimmy. The first one was most definitely more manic, and
way better.
The second one was way more depressing
and sucky.
But I think that there's two sides of every coin, and I feel that this, whether you want to call it bipolar, whatever label you want to put on it, it's the same coin. We just saw the other side of the coin in the second film.
It's the Two-Face reference?
Yeah.
Sure,
That was,
sure,
that was a triple entendre, Ryan. Why
sure.
didn't you know that?
Let's go for the quadruple or the quintuple.
Oh.
I forgot one of the things I was going to say, but the bottom line is, I understand why people hate this movie. I understand why people dislike this movie. They're in the middle about it. It's blah, 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 blah. I understand. I just personally loved it. Oh, I remember what I was going to say now. Ryan made a good point here. He was talking about if he liked the movie more, he would look into it and do further research. I think maybe it's partially got to do with all of the film people that I know. I think part of it's just got to do with maybe a little bit of age. And I think maybe the third thing is we live in just like an overly, like just overconsumption in society with media. I made a conscious effort starting about a year and a half ago to avoid trailers for the most part. Now, I watched the Superman trailer, but like I avoided the Nosferatu trailer like the plague because I thought they were going to show it. What's that?
I said, ha.
Yeah, see? Hey, I did it again. Look at that. My point is this. My point is this. When for most of my life, whether it be Jimmy, who I've known since first grade, or other people, I would talk to about film periodically. But I would watch a movie, develop my own opinion on it, and then that was kind of the end of it. And then starting about almost 10 years ago, when YouTube really started popping off with, things that eventually led to me creating a channel to do it myself and ourselves, you hear 90 people's different opinions on a movie, and that's fine. And that's totally fine. I respect all of them. Okay. But I've kind of made this conscious effort now for almost a year and a half where it's like, yeah, I'll watch a movie and I'll go, I'd like to hear so-and-so take on this movie or so. But I kind of leave it at the end of it. Like I'll watch maybe a review or two. Like I said, who would have thought Ben Shapiro would have had the best points on Wicked? Like who would have thought? But like Ryan, you said this to me the other week when we were talking about the Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown. You were like, the one person whose opinion review of the movie I want to hear is mine. You wanted to hear mine because I'm such a hardcore Dylan fan. So that's kind of the way I go about things. So it's like, it makes it more fun for me. Because I kind of look back at the last decade and it's like, man, some of these movies, it's like, it's one movie and you spend a month talking about it. You're on shows or guesting on shows and you're listening to podcasts on it and you're watching. And don't get me wrong, the build up to like Infinity War Endgame, that was a blast for like 2 years.
Oh, that was awesome.
But it's just, it's like, so for me personally, I've gotten a lot out of this conversation because I really haven't seen... I've talked to you guys individually, but like I haven't really seen much on what people think of Joker Folie à Deux. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I don't go out of my way to look it up, and again, kind of a rant, but those are just my thoughts.
Yeah, I unfortunately, everybody asks me my opinion on Joker just because.
I wonder why.
Yes, I have no problem saying that I've hitched my wagon to hitch my trail to this wagon. Yes, Midwest reference for you, Robert.
Hey, there you go. There you go.
Hitched your wagon to this post, I think, is what.
Oh,
speaking
okay.
like a true
Thank
Midwesterner.
You. Thank you, sir. I'm working on my Midwesternese. And I tell people, I don't know. People like, I don't think it's good. I don't necessarily think it's bad.
Same.
But me and Rob have been talking a lot about movies lately, and the older movies written really well. This was written well. This is a great script. And some of the new movies, it's just they're not written that well. They're not written. That's just and I know Todd Phillips wrote it and directed it and produced it, and he probably made the paper and made the ink himself, all that stuff. I get that. It's I don't like to shat on creators, but I don't think that he wanted to make a part 2, like Jimmy said. I don't think he was really into it. I think he left stuff on the table, and I do think that like when he kind of got to the end, he was like, "Oh, let me see." But that was bullshit. Kind of singing, Gaga, Joaquin, acting, comics, all this stuff. it could have been a more fleshed out, simpler story that would have been more powerful. It could have been a courtroom drama. It could have been a jail drama. It could have been like Shawshank. And I'm not saying it would have been that, but it could have been something where it was like, this is what it was like in jail for him. He could have been like Kingpin in jail. But instead, you make him like useless. And okay, he's not the Joker. I get that. But he's carrying that notoriety. And if you watch anything about prison, you get reputation when you kill people and all that stuff. You're not even, and I know it was a psych ward. You're very rarely going in and just like, people are just shitting on you. The guards don't like you. Nobody likes you. When you have that kind of cred. I can't believe that. So I do think it was very bipolar. The first one was much better. I don't think he did the Joker service. I think he did Joker a disservice. He kicked ass as Arthur Fleck, but I don't think he was a good Joker. The end. Go ahead, Robert.
I forgot to mention this earlier.
You forgot something?
My apologies. I think the music was so needed in the second movie. Imagine that film without the music sequence. The film we got. Imagine that that would have been the most like the Iron Claw, Manchester by the Sea, Killers of the Flower Moon, Schindler's List. Those are like the Blue Valentine. Those are some of the saddest movies I've ever watched. Ever. This would have been like a whole nother level. You know, they needed that yin yang, I think, a little bit, because it's like those musical sequences, they were songs that a lot of people knew, et cetera, et cetera.
They were?
Well, okay. They're songs that weird people like me know. They're like old.
Did you know those songs, Ryan, Mr. White?
I knew.
Jimmy, Mr. Bartlett, did you know the songs?
Oh yeah.
Oh, I don't know a lot of them, but me and Rob have.
But we kind of come like come from that.
Yeah,
you know.
I agree that those were the best. To me, those were some of the best parts of the movie. My theory is that those were sort of filmed to. Those are trailer bait. They filmed all those for the trailers. And
to get women to come see it.
No,
Gaga fans.
That's the only time he's in the full Joker outfit. That's the only time Gaga's dressed up as Harley Quinn the whole time. That even seeing those in the trailer, I said to myself immediately, that is not going to be in the movie. That is just for the trailers.
You don't put Gaga in a musical and not have her sing. I know it was bad. I don't like to sing, but
she can act. She doesn't have to sing. But I think.
But in a musical.
Well, I'm just saying. Right. I don't think it was a musical as much as it was musical breaks.
Oh.
And then
it was a courtroom prison movie.
Yes, with musical breaks. And during those musical breaks, they said, make it look as Joker one as possible so that we can use these in the trailers.
Oh, so Catherine, who you guys met before, had pointed out that she was talking about the palette of it, like the green and the blues and the yellows, and she liked it a lot. And she was like, it looks great.
Oh, the cinematography was
visually.
Incredible.
I was like, and I'm not like a big this looks great, but it looked really. He should have sung back. No, that would have been funny though.
That would have been right on point though, too. You know.
But let her do you don't want her to out sing Joaquin because he's a star. Okay, but how many people is Lady Gaga not out singing? Like honestly, in the world.
I mean, I'm going to get in trouble for this. She's a better singer than Taylor Swift is.
Oh, yeah. But
I thought Joaquin sounded like shit. His singing was so bad.
I didn't know he could. Apparently, he can really sing.
Well, okay.
It wasn't in the movie.
He can sing, but
that's what I heard.
Between sing and really sing. He can sing. He sang as Johnny Cash, you know.
Okay.
But I told you this on the phone the other week when we talked about it. Go look up any Johnny Cash song. Most of them are in the key of E or in the key of A. They're 3-chord songs. No offense to Johnny Cash. Love Johnny Cash. They're not that hard to sing.
I would torture them. I would annihilate them. I would eviscerate them.
Oh, dude, let's do next time you come to town. We got to go do karaoke. Jimmy.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
If he does karaoke, I will laugh at him. I'll be there.
I am not a singer. You want me to write? You want to do open mic? I'll do that. I am not singing, sir.
Me neither.
Rob's like, because Rob taught himself how to sing. We're all supposed to be like, oh yeah, I can sing too. No. I know,
Dude, I want to get up on stage and do Islands in the Stream.
You should. You can do it. I'll sing backup.
Okay.
What was I gonna say? All right, people. I'm tired. I love you guys all to death. Any final thoughts, Mr. White, before I go?
Yeah, just that I do not think that this is a bad movie. As we have pointed out, there are definitely good things about it.
Yeah.
I just personally did not really enjoy it. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. James.
I would agree with Ryan. I think anyone who says this is like a 1 star, 0 star, like hated this movie, walk out in it, piece of, you're out of your mind. I mean, it was a well-made movie. It had sound design, it had a script, it had cinematography, great actor. Yeah. There was several weak points. It was too long. The writing, there was issues. I get it. So I think it's I think it'll be remembered a little more fondly in the future is my prediction. It's not going to be a masterpiece. It's not going to be a cult classic, but I think one that sort of that hate wears off. I think people might, on rewatches in the future, appreciate it a little more.
I think people would also do better watching it back to back. It might have a better impact on you, like digesting it all at once, because, whoa, Jesus, watching it sing.
And then here's what I'll say for my piece. You got to think about it. This movie came out in October of 19 and October of 24. We have had, just take a moment. Just take a moment and think about all the things that have happened as a country, as a world, let alone in our own personal lives, in that it felt like 20 years went by between those movies. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I think maybe you're right. Watching them back to back, it might be a little bit easier of a pill to swallow for some people.
Yeah.
You know?
I think together they're more, like, if you're going to watch the one or watch both of them.
Sure.
Because I think if you just you start with 2, you're going to be like, this sucks. I don't know what's going on. But, as far as like the mental, I think the first movie was more true to the mental health components of it. Yeah. I think the second one had mental health component, but like Jimmy said, like it was so fucking depressing. You're crying in the cereal and crying while you're making grilled cheese and crying while it's like
it's just the note on that cello in the sky. Just the opening title card. It was like, oh my God, here we go.
Yeah.
So, all right, everybody. Achille wants to get out of here.
You guys can stay if you want. I'm tired.
No, I think we've accomplished everything we wanted to accomplish with this show tonight. This is fantastic. Let's leave on a high note. Achille, is there anything you want to plug? These two don't have social media, so is there anything you want to plug?
Let's see. It's gonna be coming back with Everyday Experts probably next month. And then also, me and Rob haven't discussed this, but I do want to look at Saw. Movie, the Saw franchise.
I've only seen the first 2.
I didn't say tomorrow.
Have you seen them? I've seen them all. He's seen them all. Jimmy's seen them all.
Jimmy, come on. Ryan, have you seen them? I don't know if you care.
Oh, I absolutely love the first one.
Yes.
The most recent one, Saw
was
X,
good.
was surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And then I've seen most of the other ones.
I've seen all of them.
Okay.
But I've seen all of them.
So I can easily watch all of them in time if that's what is needed.
It won't be till next month. It won't be anytime. It won't be for a few weeks. But I think that'd be fun to kind of break that down like we did this, because I like the whole idea of, these fucking Terrifier movies are out of fucking control. Like I've seen the first one and the second one started to make me sick. I was like, no.
I couldn't make it through the first one.
That's what they're known for.
I was just like, this is. But like, have we spawned a new era? But we can talk about it more. If you guys want to come back, please come back. Rob, take us away, sir.
So, so I'll just rip the Band-Aid off. So at the end of this month, Ryan and I are going to be doing, and Jimmy, you're welcome to join us if you'd like. We're going to do our best of 2024. The reason
Ooh.
we're not doing it this week or last
Favorite.
week or whatever, yeah, favorites of 2024, boils down to one thing: availability. A movie I've wanted to see now for months, The Brutalist, literally is
Oh.
not available to watch anywhere until this coming weekend in downtown
Mhm.
Chicago. And The Last Showgirl just finally came out today in our local theaters. So that sucks because I like to have my list nice and done by the end of the first week of January, but that's just how life goes. So we're going to do that show at the end of this month. Jimmy, you're welcome to join us if you'd like. And then Joker and I have been talking about doing maybe some sort of Valentine's Day
Oh,
related thing for movies and mental health.
Oh, yeah.
Sometime in February, probably towards the end of February, just how things go.
Valentine's is my
And,
favorite one of my favorite holidays.
And then the only other thing I want to say is StreamYards has been awesome, but I just found out the other day that they're doubling the price on everything. So I have this account through the end of February, but I'm going to delete it at the end of January because I don't trust these people at all whatsoever. No shade to StreamYards. I just don't trust certain things.
Mhm.
So I'm going to be canceling this thing, and I'm just going to sign up for the free version of StreamYards. You can still bring guests in. You can only live stream, no pre-record stuff. And we will have the duck logo up top, and we won't have the cool backgrounds anymore, but that's fine. It's been great the last 4 years doing this channel, and we're still going to put content out. It won't be at the pace it used to be, and I'm not throwing money down the toilet anymore for a service that is just raising their prices. And no offense, we appreciate everybody that's ever watched any video that's ever been on this channel. You are seen, you are heard, you are very much appreciated. But we don't make any money at this channel. So, you know.
Ryan White does.
Well, obviously. I mean,
not all of us make
that
money.
goes without saying. That goes without saying. But anyway, so I've made the decision. I'm like, you know what? Even to go down to the version we used to use on here, it's way too expensive now. And I'm like, I'm out. So we'll be broadcasting, but we're going to have the duck. So maybe we'll do something fun with the duck going forward. But that's it.
Nice.
All right. You guys ready to get out of here?
Yes, sir.
Take
All
us
right.
out.
Have a good night, everybody.
Joker.